Michael had always been a practical man. Logic ruled his life. So, when he inherited the sprawling mansion from a distant uncle, he dismissed the local tales as mere superstition. The locals called it the House of Whispers. They said it was cursed, haunted. The mansion stood on a hill overlooking the town. Its silhouette was stark against the twilight sky. Overgrown ivy crawled up its walls like grasping claws. The iron gates groaned as Michael pushed them open, their rusty hinges protesting the intrusion. A chill wind swept through the overgrown grounds, carrying the scent of damp earth and something else, something ancient. He parked his car on the gravel driveway, its crunching a discordant sound in the oppressive silence. Michael stepped out, his breath catching in his throat. The air was heavy. It pressed down on him, filled with an unseen menace. He could almost hear the whispers on the wind, warning him away. The townsfolk had warned him. Old Mrs. Hathaway, her eyes filled with a lifetime of fear, had clutched his arm, her voice a trembling plea. "Don't go there, young man, it's not right. That house, it steals souls." He had smiled politely, attributing her words to an overactive imagination and too many ghost stories. But now, standing before the imposing structure, doubt gnawed at his resolve. The house loomed over him, its windows like vacant eyes watching his every move. He felt a shiver run down his spine, a primal fear he couldn't rationalize. He shook his head, pushing the unease aside. He wouldn't be swayed by baseless fears. He was a man of science, of reason. Ghosts were nothing more than figments of the imagination. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, judged. Taking a deep breath, he walked towards the front door, each step echoing in the stillness. The heavy oak door creaked open as if inviting him in, or perhaps daring him to enter. Dust motes danced in the faint rays of sunlight filtering through grimy windows. The air was stale and heavy, thick with the scent of decay and forgotten things. Cobwebs draped the furniture like macabre shrouds. The house was a mausoleum, frozen in time. He wandered through the rooms, each one a testament to a bygone era. Faded grandeur clung to the high ceilings and ornate mouldings, but time and neglect had taken their toll. The once vibrant tapestries hung in tatters, their colors bleached by the years. He ran a hand along a dusty table, his fingers tracing the outline of a long empty vase. He could almost hear the echo of laughter, the clinking of glasses, the murmur of conversation, but it was just his imagination. The house was silent save for the creaking of its old bones. A long hallway, shrouded in shadows, beckoned him forward. He followed its call, drawn by an unseen force. The floorboards groaned beneath his weight, each step a drumbeat in the silence. Portraits of strangers lined the walls, their eyes seeming to follow him as he passed. He felt a presence here, a weight in the atmosphere that had nothing to do with dust and decay. At the end of the hallway stood a door. It was crafted of dark, heavy wood, unlike the others. A sense of foreboding emanated from it, chilling him to the bone. It was locked, the keyhole sealed with what looked like dried wax. He had to see what lay beyond. Curiosity, or perhaps something more, compelled him. He found a rusty axe head in one of the rooms, its wooden handle long rotted away. It was heavy in his hand, cold and strangely comforting. With a grunt, he smashed the axe head against the lock. Section 5. The Forbidden Room. The door yielded with a groan, revealing a circular room bathed in an ethereal silver light. It felt strangely detached from the rest of the house, as if it existed in a space between spaces. The air within was cold, almost frigid, sending a shiver down Michael's spine. A single high window, its glass impossibly clear, provided the only source of light. A single wooden chair stood in the center of the room, facing a large, ornate mirror. The mirror's surface was like polished obsidian, reflecting nothing but a swirling void. The walls were covered in strange symbols and writings etched into the stone. They seemed to writhe and pulsate in the strange light. The language was alien to him, yet he felt an unsettling familiarity, a deep-seated recognition in the pit of his stomach. Section 6. The warning. Only one phrase, scrawled in a shaky hand, was in English. It was written in what appeared to be dried blood, the crimson letters stark against the pale stone. It read simply, "Do not sit." A tremor of unease ran through him. The room pulsed with an unseen energy, pressing down on him, suffocating him. Every instinct screamed at him to turn and flee, to leave this place and never look back. But something held him rooted to the spot. A morbid curiosity, perhaps, or the seductive pull of the unknown. He had never been one to back down from a challenge, even one as intangible as this. He wanted to dismiss it as a prank, a macabre joke from a bygone era. But deep down, he knew better. He stared at the mirror, a dark, empty eye staring back at him. He saw his reflection, or rather a distorted mockery of it. The figure in the mirror was the same, yet subtly different. His eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and a cruel smile played upon its lips. He blinked, and the image rippled like a disturbance in still water. When he looked again, the reflection stood there, watching him with an unnerving intensity. It moved on its own, mimicking his movements at first, then becoming increasingly erratic. A cold dread filled him, spreading through his limbs like ice water. He tried to look away, to break the spell, but he couldn't. He was rooted to the spot, frozen by a fear so profound it stole his breath. The mirror shattered with an ear-splitting crack. Shards of glass rained down around him, but he felt no pain. The reflected figure stepped out of the broken frame, its form solidifying, taking on a life of its own. It was him, and yet not him. It was every dark impulse, every suppressed desire given form. The room plunged into darkness. He screamed, a primal sound of terror that echoed in the oppressive blackness. He felt something cold and sharp pierce his skin, felt an icy fire spread through his veins. He thrashed, fought against an unseen assailant, but it was no use. He was caught in a web of his own making. Then silence. A silence so profound it was deafening. He was gone, swallowed whole by the darkness. The House of Whispers had claimed another victim. The house stood silent now, its hunger momentarily satiated. The chair in the circular room was empty, the mirror nothing more than a pile of shards. The only evidence of Michael's presence was a faint echo of his scream, trapped within the walls, destined to reverberate for all eternity. The mansion remained untouched, its secrets safe within its decaying walls. The locals knew better than to approach. They kept their distance, their whispers carrying on the wind, tales of the man who dared to defy the House of Whispers and paid the ultimate price. For now, Michael was trapped, a prisoner within the mirror realm. His reflection, his dark twin, had taken his place in the world, free to indulge in its every whim. And the House of Whispers stood triumphant, its hunger never truly sated, always waiting for its next unsuspecting victim.